Okay, so everyone, welcome back. In this video, we'd like to talk about the important rendering settings of the fluids. So before we set our file to the render, we would like to take down certain important things. Okay, so for that I need to go inside the rendering tab over here, and here you can see that I do have the scene tab open. Here in this case, I'm using the primary frame buffer set to the data type RGBA half 4:16 bit. Okay, and then I would like to move to the quality, opening the sampling. Here we do have the new algorithm available since 14 version, I guess, in the Maya. They do have provided with the different render settings, but I guess the legacy one was giving the little nicer result, and it will take the less time. So this flexibility I would like to leave it upon to you, but in my opinion I would like to go with the legacy ones. Okay, so if you want to open the legacy settings for the Mendelray, you need to click here over the show advanced settings. With this tab open, now you can go inside the legacy options and pick the one which is called the sampling mode. Click that to the legacy sampling mode. Okay, so once it's open, we can use the max sample level, which was set to the 0 in the default. You are required to use the value 1. What this attribute will gonna do is, you can see that one sample per 4 pixels. Okay, so when we are rendering with the polygons or any geometry database inside the Maya, sometimes what it happens that the circumference, or you can say the curvature sections of the polygons, they do show some jitteriness or the pixelations issues. So this will gonna make it correct. All right, although these settings do not have a very big impact on the fluids, but when you are rendering with the fire, you also need to have some more quality. So some sort of jitters from the fluid are also going to be removed if you're going to use the max sample one. Okay, we also do have the another attribute that also helps us in getting rid of the all such you can say the jitters of the pixels. So for that I'm using the anti-aliasing contrast to 0.050, which was zero point 0.1 by default. So we can go to the 0.035 as well, or maybe 0.050. Okay, rest leaving lighting quality to the one default. And another important section that is called as the filtering, and by default it was set to the box, which is not like that much suitable according to me. So we're gonna change that thing to the Michelle or Gauss. These are the two preferable settings that I always do, okay, once it's required to take the render. And with that, it is done. Now you can come inside the common tab and can first of all select under the renderable cameras, because obviously you need to be very careful. Most of the times, I think so, every time it will give you the perspective camera. Okay, so if you're gonna go inside the perspective view, you can see that if you give this info, Maya will start rendering the file from this camera angle, which is obviously not recommended. So for that, we need to go inside the perspective and click the final cam. Okay, once it is done, you're required to go and click under the renderable camera, click that into the final cam. And once it is done, you could give your own resolutions. Like in this case, I'm just doing some testing. Okay, so before you put your project to the full HD, or let's say 4K 2K renders, you're actually required to bring that thing to the testing mode. So for the testing, 1280 by 720, which is the SD standard resolutions, is quite a good, okay, with the start at least I can say. So the final camera is selected, the presets HD 720 is also done. Then what we can do next is that we can give the extension to the frames, which is the starting from the 1 till 58 frames, since it's only the testing mode. And here inside this, the final output should go with the OpenEXR files, which is I guess over here, but as it's just the testing mode, so I'm using the default Maya IFF files, which is pretty much amazing to at least to check your the basic setups and all, how the fire is coming up, everything is and then what we can do here is that we can use the frame animation extension. So by default it's the single frame. So here I would like to go for the name dot hash dot exe, which indicates name is the name of the file, which is a new underscore 3 underscore 50. Hash will going to represents the number of the frame, and ext represents the extension of the file, which is here in case the .iff. Okay, so once we are done with the settings, it's time to close the tab, save the file, and the moment you hit the render tab, which is over here in the rendering menu, but before you hit this, you should also take care that out of these three layers, which layer is undergoing the rendering. Well, there's a common mistake most of the time we do, and we just forgot to click and activate this particular layer here. In this case, it's called as a fluid_beauty. Another indication is that once you click this or you provide the name, you're also going to find somewhat here. It's a fluid beauty layer which is being getting affected, or this is the only layer which we are rendering. So to assure that the rest two have been switched off, what we need to do, just go here and click off and off. Could be hard to see, but there is an icon over here that has been cancelled, that has actually cancelled out the rendering. So in this case, only the middle layer has been activated, and with that you are ready to go for the render. So I can go inside the render and can click the batch render. Okay, it's gonna utilize all the CPUs of my systems. Okay, so everything is just leave it to by default, and can click the batch render and the close. All right, this is basically the final render that we have got, and now you can see here the emission of the fire as well as the smoke. Okay, and we're also going to improve the stuff inside the post-production package, be it a Nuke, Fusion, or After Effects, whichever is of your choice. That will going to be really very basic thing, and I'm not going to utilize very core detail. You can say the rendering systems like bringing out the masking of this fire and all with this RGB colors, because this is just the testing mode, so we just don't want to get into that, at least for now. So now it's time to move to the composing package, and here you can see, if I'm going to take you inside the alpha mode, you can also see that we do have the information of the smoke as well as the fire both. Okay, so now let's just go inside the After Effects and see what we can do in order to raise the standard, or you can say the quality of the rendering. Okay, we're also going to do some color corrections over there also. So let's just go inside the After Effects, and over here I can just double click and bring these files, and at least for now best to put that thing to the ignore. And with this you're going to bring down the file and can play the timeline pressing the space bar. So here you can see that I do have got each and every frame. It's totally approximately 50 frames. That was just for the testing. And so to improvise, or you can start changing the colors, you can just select the layer and put a Control D to duplicate the layer, and it is just for my own testing purpose. So you can click over here, I can change the mode to the screen, so that we're going to bring some more illuminations inside the renders. And then obviously we are required to change the color information, so we can go inside the CC toner and can just put that thing a little reddish tone, and can click over here. Plus you can also blend with the original, so put that thing to 30. That would be okay. So if you're going to remove that, you see there's a lot good information over here, and that is pretty much good. What we could do is that we could just shift that thing a little more yellowish. Okay, that's pretty much fine. And if that is done, you can for the next time also, you can just duplicate that stuff, duplicate it one more time. And for these layer, the upper one, you can go inside the blur and sharpen, and can bring the Gaussian blur with the settings to approximately, I guess, 100 or maybe 50, whichever suits to you. And once it is done, we are also required to select the layer first, sorry, and also required to play with the curves, I guess, just to bring some more glow, and you can say to get some better contrast. So with that, you can only concentrating on the fire, and this is quite a good setting. At least we could get some nice change inside the shading of the fire and all. And once it is done, what you are required to do is select all of them and bring it to the one layer, which is pressing Control Shift C, which is, you can say, the pre-comp. Click OK, and the pre-comp is selected. Now what we can do else, you can go inside the effect under the blur and sharpen again, and click the sharpen. So what we're going to do, it will going to sharpen the amount of your scenes, as you can see. So which is a little bit higher, so bring it to the 20 or maybe 10. So that is quite good, since fire is very very aggressive. So we also want that the fire should show some more sharpness inside our scene. And once the process is done, as you can see, that's still looking quite a good. But now it's time to open the last weapon for the overall, you can say, the look and feel and everything, I can say, which I really gonna admire and really gonna like this. That is called as a RE Vision Real Smart Motion Blur, and that is a huge lifesaver for me. So inside the motion sensitivity, you can go and click the 100, and inside the blur amount you can give that thing to 1.25 or maybe 1.5. so with that, you can see gone everything which shows the jelly nature in the fire, and again the crispiness will gonna come out. So once you're gonna hit the space bar again, you're gonna see that there is the new life which is taking place inside the fire, and obviously it is looking more aggressive, more sharp, and other areas which is, you can say, the jelly kind of effect has also been, uh, we have completely got rid of from these things. So I highly recommend everyone to take care of the benefits of this RSMB Real Smart Motion Blur. These guys have done really an excellent job. What this plugin do, basically it will gonna see or read the pixels inside your compositions that are actually moving fast, and based upon the speed they will going to affect the motions by bringing the blur inside here. So again, hats off to the RSMB. And so this will going to be our final rendering results for the burning tree. Okay, I hope so you must have understood the concepts of the rendering. It's like a very simple setup, you can say. Okay, now it's time to move to the next module.